This is CBS Sports HQ with Jacqueline DiAugustino. I'm Chris Hassel. A few years ago, the Big 12 unveiled a new, now infamous slogan. That slogan was "One True Champion." Then they got egg on their face because they proceeded to name co-champs. This year, I like the slogan a lot better. It's clever. We've always been greater than 12. That's the slogan. Why?
Because there's 14 teams.
Yes!
But we only
greater than 12.
I feel like I was just being quizzed there by Chris Hassel.
You passed.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, they have like, what, a one-year lease on this new...
1 year of 14.
Right, exactly. So Big 12 Media Days, it continues. 14 teams in the conference for this upcoming season. 2 on their way out. That is Texas and Oklahoma. And then we got 4 newbies, BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston. Big 12 Media Days coming at you from Arlington, Texas. You see it there. A lot of Big 12 storylines to go around. Texas, the expectations are high. I feel like they're always high, Chris. Like, at least for
we're always wanting Texas to be back.
Yes.
They never are.
Yeah, so we'll have to see if they're actually back. They're at even money to win the conference, so we'll have to see what happens there with Texas in the Big 12. College football analyst Brady Quinn joining us from Big 12 Media Days. BQ, we're going to start with Texas. The Longhorns picked to win the Big 12 by the media. Maybe it's because Quinn Ewers decided to ditch the mullet and now he is just strictly business for the upcoming season.
That's one way of describing it. I think the other way of describing it is really going back to last season and seeing them in Austin in person, taking on #1 Alabama. They probably win that game if Quinn Ewers stays healthy. And if you look at the second half of last season too, you saw that maturation process of him as a quarterback. He will be one of the top quarterbacks this college football season. He's surrounded by a bunch of former 5-star recruits, a ton of speed, a ton of talent, and he's probably a guy we're going to hear talked about a lot as a first-round prospect because of that rare and unique arm talent. But you talked about cutting off the mullet, and that to me is more of a sign of just him maturing as a quarterback, understanding what he means to the University of Texas and really what he means in the grand slate of college football. And I think he's in for a huge season this year. You're going to see one of those big jumps his second season, starting within an offense. He's got so much more control. He talked about that throughout the course of spring practice, really being able to control everything and get them in the best possible play. And that's the objective moving forward. So I think he's going to have a huge season where we're starting to talk about him along with the Caleb Williams, the Drake Mays, and next year's draft class going at the top of the draft.
So you see Texas there, #1, Oklahoma at #3 to win the Big 12 by the media. Texas and Oklahoma moving to the SEC next year, with Oklahoma leaving the Big 12. Oklahoma State coach Mike Gundy being pretty direct, not mincing words, saying, hey, the Bedlam rivalry is pretty much over. Take a listen.
The Bedlam game is over because Oklahoma chose to leave the Big 12, period. It's got nothing to do with Oklahoma State. So do I like that? No. Do I like that conferences have broken up in the past? No, I don't. But I also know that we have to control what we can control, which is conference realignment is there. It's probably still going on. And wherever we all end up and whatever schedule they give us to play, we go play it and do the best we can.
Gundy just keeping it real there. No more Bedlam after this season. So 2 questions for you, Brady. 1, are you upset that this rivalry is over? And 2, what are your expectations for Oklahoma State this upcoming season?
Yeah, the first being, yeah, I'm upset. I mean, it's one of the things that makes college football so special is the rivalries, in particular an in-state rivalry like Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Now, Oklahoma fans would tell you, well, it really hasn't been a rivalry. I think they've won, 91, 19, and 7 all time. So outside of the past 2 years where they've split the Bedlam game, Oklahoma's largely dominated this series the entire time. And Oklahoma State fans on their other end, they do have a good point. I mean, the bottom line is Oklahoma made this decision to move to the SEC. It makes scheduling what would then be a non-conference game a bit more difficult, as some of those non-conference games are scheduled well in advance, and especially looking at the difference in conferences and how many conference games you play. There's a thought out there that maybe the SEC will one day go to 9 conference games as well. The Big 12 already plays 9. That really only leaves you 3 games to try to move around. I will say this. If they want to play this rivalry game in their non-conference schedule once the move happens, they can make it happen. We played football through COVID. We had to jump through a lot of hoops during that. So it can happen at some point in time. I think the bigger story in regards to Mike Gundy and really the Big 12, and obviously we're kind of glossing over because everyone's expecting Oklahoma State to take a step back, is he's been one of the better college football coaches during the course of his tenure. He's won over 100 games at Oklahoma State. They've had a longer, a streak of winning seasons, more so than even Alabama. It's 17 straight. He's done a phenomenal job. There's a lot of people I think are sleeping on Oklahoma State when Mike Gundy always seems to know what's best for his team. Yes, they've had an exodus with some transfers going out, but they bring in some transfers. Alan Bowman's going to be quarterback for him. Started his career at Texas Tech, went to Michigan. They feel like he's the best fit for them moving forward. So don't ever count out a Mike Gundy coach team. He's always underrated when it comes to just the chance of this team winning a lot of football games. He averages about 9 wins per season throughout the course of his tenure in Stillwater.
And talking more about Oklahoma, their head coach, Brent Venables, feeling the pressure after a losing season in year one. Brady, in your opinion, just how important is it for him to lead the Sooners to a winning season before they go over to the SEC?
Yeah, I think you want to build some momentum as you go into what's, I think everyone would agree, is a more tougher conference. But beyond that, the fact is, when you are a defensive-minded head coach, really that was your calling card. That's why you got the job, even though you had prior experience there in Norman, but all the success you had with Clemson. And you come in the first year and you take a monumental step back. You give up more than 80 yards per game in total defense in your first year. And that really should be the group that's your foundation, your cornerstone to help be able to keep you in ball games. And they did improve during the second half of the season. And I do think they'll be much improved this year. But I still have some hesitation in regards to what this team ultimately can accomplish. Jeff Lebby is their offensive play caller. They did a good job last year. I would say it wasn't to the magnitude of what we saw from Lincoln Riley. And so there's going to be a lot of pressure put not only on Brent Venables, but also the quarterback Dylan Gabriel, and trying to play up to the standard of previous quarterbacks who've now won a Heisman, that started their careers at least at Oklahoma. And then in the case of at least Caleb Williams, have moved on. So Dylan Gabriel's got a lot of pressure on him, especially if the defense hasn't improved and he's got to win a bunch of games and shootouts, especially with more competition within the conference.
Dylan Gabriel, once a UCF night. UCF, one of the 4 new teams in the Big 12. We saw them, UCF, one of your sleeper teams, Brady. Head coach Gus Malzahn, he seems pretty pumped for this upcoming season, saying, hey, we're going to be playing the best teams in college football. I mean, it's good to be excited, but Brady, do you think this UCF team is ready to actually contend in year one?
I do. I think if you look at the track record of UCF dating back to 2017, they've been the most successful group of 5 team. So it starts there. Then Gus Malzahn, who's won at the Power 5 level, he won a national championship with Auburn. He understands how to get the job done. And John Rice Plumlee is one of the more dynamic quarterbacks too in the Big 12. So I think he always gives them a chance because he's just a special, talented player. Dual sport athlete, also plays baseball there. So all those things add up to a team that I think has the opportunity to maybe be a sleeper and maybe surprise a lot of people. The biggest question is, how are they going to handle playing a Power 5 schedule all the way through, and not just some non-conference games here and there, and then a bowl game as well, where you've got a little extra time to prepare for and go ball out. That's going to be the question. Do they have the depth? Do they have the talent by and large to be able to match up with a lot of other schools in Power 5 conferences, in this case, the Big 12, that have had greater funding and obviously a better ability to build up their rosters to have more depth and more talent. But I think UCF is the team of the 4 new entrants into the Big 12 this year that has the best opportunity.
All right, that is college football analyst Brady Quinn joining us from Big 12 Media Days here on HQ. Thank you so much, Brady. We appreciate it. And for everything happening in the world of college football, make sure you check out the Cover 3 podcast. You can download, follow, and listen wherever you get your pods, or you can scan that QR code on your screen.